Hello comic book fans, here's Earl Grey, and here are two nice volumes with the Silver Age dailies and Sundays from 1966 to 1969, and there will be a third volume out in November this year, 2016. The launch of the newspaper strip in '66. There were Batman newspaper strips before then, of course, but the one from '66 was the most successful one, and it was due to the success of the TV series of that time. So quite soon after the start of the TV series, they planned on doing a newspaper strip, and the first stories were drawn by Sheldon Moldoff, and after that it was Joe Giella, and I think Carmen Infantino was in the middle, and the last of these here is Al Plastino. So this here is from Sheldon Moldoff, and there's a tonally shift over the span of these two books here, these collections, from the very campy, goofy Batman that you expect when you grab a Batman comic from that year. But please, can someone explain to me the word camp? I really don't know what it is, but maybe it's this kind of colorful, funny action. Zank, whamp, glomp. I really enjoyed the first part here, especially with all these goofiness, and even when they're all clobbering at each other, you don't get the impression that anyone is really hurt so much. And here's the Penguin and his beautiful hench girl, and they're running away on these ostriches. The Sundays were in the beginning separated or presented separate stories from the weeklies, so you can follow one story in the Sundays and a separate story in the weeklies. Therefore, they printed the Sundays here in the beginning back to back. Here's the second villain in the run, the nasty Napoleon. And the nasty Napoleon fights in style with his cannon and is appropriately dressed henchman. But of all the goofy side characters and main characters in the first Sundays, these two beat them all. This is Batchap and Bobbin, the British impersonators of the dynamic duo. But their opponents aren't less goofy. This is the Villainess and the Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux. Destroy them, destroy them. Yeah, Whitney Ellsworth and the artist Sheldon Moldoff got it really right to depict this, these goofy, and to tell these goofy tales. As you can see, here's quite a bit story with Catwoman, and you have to consider that these are the strips for 1 week. Each line, each 3 or 4 panels was all that you got back in the day for 1 day. And there was, therefore, there was a cliffhanger at the end of each line of panels, and they had to get you excited enough to pick up the newspaper the following day. And overall, it reads very well in this form, where you just can skip over to the next day and over to the next day, and I indulge in the luxury of today's comic book reading, and I think it would have killed me to wait that long for the whole story. It must be said that especially in the second volume, these stories tread some water and there's some repetitiveness, and it's much too often explained what has happened the day before and so. And that's sometimes a bit boring. Not so in the first book, which I really can recommend, but in the second volume, especially when there's a story with Superman and Aquaman, they're involved there. I'll show you them in a minute or in a second. Poison Ivy is included here as well, and later on the Sundays and the weeklies told the same story. So you got 6 lines of story from the days in the week, and then it's concluded or continued in the Sundays and in color. And with a triple amount of panels, of course. So, back to the book. Here in the back, you got quite... you have bonus material in the front, as I've shown you. And in the back, at least in Volume 1, in Volume 2, there isn't a bonus section in the back, but here you can see some references to the TV series and information to the newspaper strips and some comics of that time. So that's really neat. Now to Volume 2. Nice covers, I think. So, these are new cover art from. Oh, I guess he has included from one Mr. Poplaski. So here you get the history of the Batman and Robin newspaper strip, Part 2, and I found it particularly interesting how the artist Joe Giella was forced to keep his involvement in the newspaper strip undercover, because it was officially a Bob Kane comic, and Bob Kane played the role of the comic creator in public. And that seems a bit strange. I don't know the reasons for that, but oops, here in the comics, for the most time, they just depicted the signature of Bob Kane. Later on, when it shifted to Al Plastino signs it as well, and the writer Whitney Ellsworth here. You can see it. So, yeah, that's the second volume, and here you have a very long maybe a bit too long story with Superman and Aquaman. Like I said before, these stories with Superman and let's see if I can find Aquaman. Are a bit repetitious and boring sometimes because of the explanations they had to do for all the newspaper readers to remind them of the happenings before, to let them follow through the story. And if you read them in this book form, you get it and you got it, and you don't need the third or whatever explanation for it. But in the end, and as I said, there's a tonally shift from the campy beginnings to the darker, sinister Batman as we are used to now. And the last story with an impersonator that took over Batman's or Bruce Wayne's identity, and that's quite interesting and dark and foreboding of many Batman stories that had to come since then. Oh, that was bad English. I apologize. Anyhow, I hope you can get an impression of these two books here. They're really nice, as most, I think, of the books of the Library of American Comics. Even though I just have this one, and but I looked for most of them in my comic shop. Don't have the money to buy them all, else I would have them already. So, thanks for listening and bearing with my beautiful English today. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.